Hi, this is Linda from HoopSisters, and I'm very proud to show you our new trimmer by George 2.0. We've added a lot to this new trimmer. We still have our original thin metal strip that we use to trim our blocks to help us prevent in cutting our top layer of fabric. But in addition, the new part is we've added a clear acrylic ruler that's 6.5 inches wide by 12.5 inches across. So after you use your trimmer side of our trimmer, you turn it over and you now have a ruler side with all the measurements. We've even added a sashing and a binding line so that you can easily cut your sashing and your binding strips without thinking and looking for the measurements. Here's my block, and this edge will be where the binding's applied. So the first thing I do when I'm trimming a block is to trim all of the edges that will have binding applied. That will make it easier for me to not make a mistake. Trust me, I've accidentally trimmed an edge where I didn't need to. So I always trim my binding edges first. So I will do that. Lay my block out. I'll take my new trimmer by George 2.0 and turn it upside down, and then I can go ahead and see all my measurements on my ruler. And we have a long dashed solid black, or a dashed line, but it's longer and bolder for your 1/4 inch. So we just go ahead and place that over our basting stitch. And we'll take our rotary cutter and trim through all layers, because this is the edge that will get the binding applied. The rest of the edges will have blocks joined to them. So what we'll do is we'll turn back the top layer, use our 2.0 trimmer, just like our other trimmer, put it up against the fabric. The cool thing is I can see exactly what's under it this time, so I can see that my fabric is turned under and that it won't accidentally get cut. So we'll do that. Give it a little tug. This new trimmer is much more stable than the original trimmer. I can put a little weight with my hand, trim away both the batting, the battleizer, and the backing. I'll do that on all of the remaining 3 edges. You can see my fabric that's turned under through the ruler on the trimmer. So I only need one tool for this as opposed to our original trimmer, which was fantastic. We also needed a ruler. So now at this point, I'll turn my trimmer over. I'll align my bolder dashed line with my 1/4 inch basting. Trim all of my edges. So I've completed trimming an entire block. This edge is ready for binding, and the other 3 edges are ready to join to other blocks. So like I mentioned before, the wonderful advantage of our trimmer by George 2.0 is when you turn it over, you now have a measurement for sashing and a measurement for binding. You don't have to sit and look for it and accidentally choose the wrong line and cut it wrong, like I know I've done, and I'm sure you have too. So first I'm going to cut my sashing. So I have my fabric 45 inch wide, doubled up. I've straightened my one edge, and I'll just take the sashing line. It's another heavier line that's got a darker dash and a smaller, darker dash. It's bolder. And I'll place my fabric straight edge on that bolded line. The sashing is just, you can read the word sashing just off the edge of it, and cut it like I would any other ruler. So I can quickly cut all my sashing strips. Very easy, without having to look for the measurement and maybe making a mistake. The next would be the binding. Now we put our binding measurement at 2.5, which I did a little poll and most people did 2.5, so that's what we chose. This is a 2.5-inch binding line. If you want to do 2.25, you can just simply go down one more line. But binding is the same thing. We fold over our fabric doubled, use that bolded binding line. It's very easy to read the word binding just off of it, so we don't choose the wrong one. And we cut our binding strips. One tool, Trimmer by George 2.0, and you can do all of your trimming of your blocks and all of your cutting of your sashing and binding. Even before that, you can go ahead and use it to cut the different size blocks and strips for all of your blocks on your feathered star. So we hope you love it as much as we do.